One thing is that players might not like your game, and another thing, they might not even see your game.
Could you maybe explain the state of mobile games publishing in 2026?
Today I'm joined by a games industry leader who has spent over 15 years building teams and shipping in mobile games. He helped scale iLogos from 40 people to more than 300 and now leads third-party publishing at Burny Games, where she's working right at the point where games development meets market reality.
What is different in mobile games publishing these days in comparison to 10-15 years ago, it's that it's really hard to grow organically. Around 80% of mobile revenue these days are distributed among top 50 publishers. They have a lot of resources, they have infrastructure, they have marketing expertise, they have a huge amounts of data.
We talked about why mobile publishing now is less about funding the development and more about user acquisition, analytics, and infrastructure, why teams get in trouble when they build without proven marketability, and exactly how to secure a publisher in mobile games.
Many times UA would cost several times more than your development cost. Even if you're lucky enough to secure development funding, or for example you bootstrapped, be ready to invest 10 times more in user acquisition. You might think that, oh my god, I built a bad game, people don't like it. They just didn't know about it.
From someone who has spent years on the developer side and is now building a publishing division from scratch, please welcome this episode's guest, Head of Strategic Partnerships at Burny Games, Elena Lobova.
Elena, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. So excited about today. So today we're talking everything mobile game publishing by not an armchair game publisher, an actual game publisher in mobile gaming, which is very exciting. So Elena, I like to do this, scan your LinkedIn and tell everyone a bit about your history before we go straight in. So seasoned games industry professional, over 15 years of experience, was the COO and later CEO of iLogos, where she led the company's growth from 40 to over 300 employees. So she has grown big teams. And from 2017 to 2024, managed and co-founded the Game Developer Accelerator Achievers Hub, as well as GD Bay and Global Games Pitch. Currently, on top of all this, Elena is the Head of Strategic Partnership at Burny Games, where she now leads the very newly launched third-party publishing direction. In addition, frequent speaker, I've seen you on stage a few times, and also co-organizer of the Ukrainian booth at Gamescom and organizer of Ukrainian charity auctions worldwide. So not only do you do a lot of great work in the office, you also do it outside, which is awesome. So that's the quick intro. Elena, I'm so excited.
Me too.
Yeah, great. So what we do before every podcast is have a quick chat, and I really enjoyed it because I hope to understand a bit more about your journey. I want to, for everyone listening, map out this podcast. So we're going to be talking about mobile game publishing, so the lay of the land, but also why it's quite different. So you have a quote, which I've written down, is like, when people say publishers are overrated, in 90% of cases, they're talking about PC games. So in mobile, the dynamics are very different. So let's open with that, because we can't talk about the topic if we don't understand it. So could you maybe explain the state of mobile games publishing in 2026, Elena?
Yeah, with pleasure. So first thing that I'd like to focus on is that the mobile games market now is very different from what it was 10 or 15 years ago. I just recently came across the statistics that around 80% of mobile revenue these days are distributed among top 50 publishers. So you need to understand that it's really hard to compete with these publishers because obviously they have a lot of resources, they have infrastructure, they have marketing expertise, they have user acquisition funds, they have analytics, they have a huge amounts of data. And also, what is different in mobile games publishing these days in comparison to 10-15 years ago, it's that it's really hard to grow organically. Of course, it's possible, especially if your games is, for example, your game is based on well-known IP, or it's a niche premium game, or if you were able to grow through influencers, but it's very, very rare and it's unpredictable. This is why most games in mobile games publishing heavily rely on user acquisition, and user acquisition is expensive. In many times, UA would cost several times more than your development cost. So even if you're lucky enough to secure development funding, or for example, you bootstrapped, be ready to invest 10 times more in user acquisition. Of course, it depends on the genre, it depends on the particular niche, but these numbers are not rare. And it's not just the money itself, it's also the marketing expertise. It's also real life experience of bringing the game to the market. So not just the money, but also how you use this money. And the understanding that we compete not only with the other mobile games, but also with apps that are very successful right now, with social media, and the players' attention span is so short, so we have very little time to actually interest them. One more thing is infrastructure that I already mentioned. Mobile publishing becomes increasingly data driven in these days, and successful big publishers have developed infrastructure for analytics, for attribution, for monetization, and so on. And it's a completely different skill set from developing the game itself. So in 2026, I would say that mobile games publishing is so much more than development funding. Actually, the development funding is the easiest part, considering how easy and how relatively cheap you can develop a mobile game right now. So I would say that mobile game publishing this year and in the future is mostly about user acquisition funding, user acquisition and marketing expertise in general, and infrastructure. And this is what mobile publishers bring to the table.
Got it. So it's very similar to some previous podcasts we did when it talked about PC and console. It's like if you're not thinking about marketing during the development phase, you're shooting yourself in the foot 10 times versus a few years ago, right? Because as the world continues, attention gets more and more fragmented. It doesn't get cheaper to get attention typically, ever. So it will only get harder. With this in mind, Elena, the thing I want to ask you is you've published games as Burny Games.
Yeah.
And I want to maybe tell people, you were the fastest growing Ukrainian game dev in terms of headcount. So you've been through this. So I want to maybe ask you, like, what's been your experience? Share as much as legally allowed, right? But like any lessons you learned from publishing your own games, because you are first publishing your first party games, right? Before you're looking into publishing others. So is there any lessons here that we can take?
Okay, one of the lessons is that you need to be fast. You need to iterate fast.
How fast?
And you need to, as fast as possible.
How fast were you iterating?
Oh, actually, you know what? I have a story about, we developed one story that I'm not, oh my God, I wish I would be able to share the story. I'm not sure if I can yet. Let's say this. One of our big titles, Colorwood Words, was developed from idea to launch in just 60 days. And
launch?
Yes, soft launch, but still.
Wait. So, whoa. Idea, made the game on an app store, someone can play it, 60 days.
60 days, yeah.
That's not normal, is it?
It is. It is normal. In hyper casual, it's not hyper casual, but in
because it doesn't look like a quick game. It looks like I haven't played it, but I looked at the assets. It looks like not like a 60-day game. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but so to be able to do this, we built an internal infrastructure before that allowed us to do this. Well, we can say that. So we have some internal tools and internal capacities, like creative capacities, for example, that can produce marketing creatives, and that can help us to bring games faster to the market. And this was one of the reasons. And what I wanted to say before is that I'm sad that I cannot share this new example yet because it's too early, but it's not even our record yet. Nice. We broke this record. I would not say which game.
You've said enough. That's already inspiring, I'm sure.
Yeah, so this is what we learned, that we need to be fast, we need to build fast, but we need to test our hypothesis even faster. We need to see how developers react to the game before we invest more
When you
time
say
and more
developers,
resources.
is that
Well,
also the
developers.
players?
Players, I mean the
Players.
players. Of course, I mean but you know what? In our case, it can be almost the same. At least it overlaps because our first players of our games is our developers and our employees. We have such things as internal play tests. These are the
Nice.
first thing that we do before we bring game to the public. So we not just do this internal play tests, we also encourage people to play the game, to report the bugs, to give feedback, and based on some criteria, like for example, who gave the best feedback or who reached more the highest level within a certain period of time, person can be rewarded by some nice gift.
I have a few questions here. So, like, you're saying all these things, and I'm still confused. We're at 60 days. So, like, how much content are you making? Is this like 8 hours of content, more or less? Are you making enough levels for someone to like do a deep vibe? So, like, you're saying all these things, it feels like still like a finished game.
Well, in mobile gaming, when we are talking about live ops based games, there are no such thing as a finished game. You need to constantly add more levels. And Color with Words is a words-based game. It's a language-based game. So you can release with only one language and then you add more and more languages. And sometimes you can reuse in the following levels some mechanics from the previous levels or some even I wouldn't say that we do that, but sometimes we can do this in this game, but sometimes you can even repeat the levels when you're testing and not always players notice it, but in the
There
beginning
you go.
it's acceptable.
It's interesting to me. Sorry, can I go on? I just want to maybe interrupt. Like, this game looks like it's very easy to make variations of, like from a live ops perspective. I don't know if that's a conscious choice or it just happens to be with all word games, but like I can understand now, yeah, you can make variations of this quicker than, you know, a 3D platformer, you know?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It is the essence of casual and hybrid casual games. And this is also something that we really appreciate in our games and in the games that developers send to us. The possibility of building a lot of layers, a lot of levels based on this mechanics fast. And but there is another thing that you need to keep in mind, that you don't want your players to be bored. So these iterations have to be somewhat different time to time. You need to introduce something new for the players. We aim to keep the players playing our games for years, not for months or for weeks.
Yeah.
That's why I said that we are not focusing on hybrid casual or hyper casual games, and we focus on hybrid casual and casual games. We want our players to play them for longer. And this is why sometimes developers send us game pitch and we play this game and we really like the mechanic. It's fun, but we don't see how we can build hundreds of levels based on this mechanics and still keep the players interested. And this is what we're looking for, and this is what is important for us.
Is that intuitive, Elena, or do you like measure boredom? Like, do people start playing smaller sessions, or like, I'm wondering if there's a way to tell someone, because you can't speak to everyone listening to this podcast, but is there maybe a test people could do to check, all right, is my game made to be played forever? Like, is there an easy thing we can double check? Like, imagine you had 10 of those developers who pitched similar games. What would you tell them? Like, all right, for your next game, check this.
I would say at least have a vision of how you keep your players entertained for a long time. Have a vision how your level 100 would look like. So you now
In
brought
the
us,
pitch.
yes. For example, developers made a prototype of the game, and there are 5-10 levels, and they're good. But they should be able to answer the question, how would your level 100 look like? How would your level 200 look like? This is an easy check. And the rest, I would say that the market will show. And of course, when the game is live, then in this case, there is nothing, at this point, there is nothing based on intuition anymore. Everything is data driven.
Love it. Okay. So I like roadmap. So let's do a roadmap. So how to find a publisher in 2026, mobile gaming. But I'm sure there's a lot of translatable lessons to other industries, even in music, to be honest. Like I've spoken to someone in the music industry, and stuff that you do to get a publisher there's still some basic things that you need to get right. So let's do it. So I want to go over what to prepare, what to expect, where to look, and then how to actually pick your publisher. Because I think maybe I predict this, like people shouldn't just accept every publisher that says yes, right?
Yeah,
They're very different. So let's start with what to prepare. So before they even reach Elena, what do you need 100% everyone listening to this to do?
Okay, so first, like my basic answer would be something that people probably would not like because they don't like to hear things like this. Yes, it depends on the publisher. There is no recipe for that would work for every publisher, but I will try to approximate here because before working at Burny Games, I was on the publisher's side for a long time, and now on developer side for a long time, and now I'm on the publisher side. So I was pitching to the publishers, and now I'm receiving the pitches. So yes, it does depend on the publisher. Some publishers expect the game to be almost ready. Some are willing to get on board early on, but probably not too early. I don't think that in 2026 there is any publisher that would be excited about just the idea and would be willing to sign a game on the idea stage. You need to have at least a playable prototype. And in addition to playable prototype, I would say that most publishers would like to see one-pager description of the game from which they can have an idea of what your game is about. So even before playing your game, even before clicking to your gameplay video, they would be able to go through this deck or this page or this a couple of paragraphs and have an understanding on what this game is about. And please feel free to refer to your inspiration titles. In many cases, it helps. It actually helps, and it's totally fine. Then prototype, as I said, to show the core mechanics and the level of quality that you're able to deliver. Publishers want to see what makes your project different, your unique selling points. In case you use the proven mechanics, be able to show why your game is better than the other games in this niche, and why the other players who already have that other games on the market would play your game as well or would switch to your game. And if your game uses more unique mechanics and it's hard for you to find any specific competitors, you need to have an understanding who is the audience of your game and whether this audience exists at all. Also, you need to understand and you need to be able to show the publisher that this audience is reachable, that it's possible to target this audience. In addition to this, the understanding of the roadmap and development timeline when you're ready to ship the game, soft launch or global launch or whatever. If you need money, how much you need and why this exact amount. What else do you need from a publisher? Also, team's experience matter. Have you shipped game before? Have you worked together? Do you have expertise in this particular genre? All of this is worth mentioning and including in your pitch deck. Of course, gameplay video. It's one of the first things that I want to see. Sometimes developers send builds, just the game build, without the gameplay video, without thinking that it takes quite a lot of time to download the build, install the build, and start playing. And sometimes all this just to see in the first minute or the first few seconds that this is not the right fit. So if you send a video gameplay in addition to your build, it doesn't mean that the publishers will not play your game. It means that they can look at your video and also already get an idea if they might be interested in your game
Also, you
before they
decide
even
how to
play.
present the game. Like you decide how to
Yeah.
present the game in the video. So like
Oh,
it's going to take a bit more effort, but you would want that rather than their perception of what the game experience is like on that build. You don't know what they're going to do, or they might forget something on how to boot up a level. Who knows?
yeah, this is a great addition. Yes, and also don't make this video too long.
How
I think
long?
that most publishers, well, a couple of minutes should be enough,
Yeah.
but most publishers will watch it for 15-20 seconds. So
Yeah, it's
make
like a
sure,
CV.
yeah. So
If
make
you're
sure
really
that
interested, you'd keep reading.
make sure that your first 15 seconds show your game from the best possible angle. And of course, if your game is already launched, then publishers would like to see your numbers, your metrics. I would say retention, of course, day 1, day 3, day 7, day 30, or your retention curve.
Mhm.
Playtime, day 0, day 1, day 30. Number of installs, what kind of traffic sources do you have? Is it organic? Is it non-organic? If you had some user acquisition, then what's your CPI? And if you can show your ROAS curve, that's perfect. But
Can I
of course, we
ask?
don't expect to see all of this from the developers, and we understand that this can be not perfect because the game might be not optimized, and we could provide some advice and we could have some ideas of what could be changed in the game to optimize this number. So don't think of this as a as a gate for publishers. It's just some
It helps.
one more additional criteria, yes, that helps to evaluate the game.
I just want to make it very clear for people, if you don't mind. You mentioned if they have player data, they should include it.
Yeah.
But how much is significant? Like, is there an amount of players where you wouldn't include it? Like, is there, because it might be a lot lower than someone's expecting. Like, I need a few thousand players to be significant data, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm guessing.
I think that it makes sense to include whatever data you have, but make sure that you also include the numbers of players. Publishers understand this, and I wouldn't say there is some specific minimal number of
Okay, wow.
players because it can be different for different publishers. And
Fair.
for somebody, it might not be significant. For somebody, it might be significant. So I would say if you have numbers, include them. If you don't include them, publishers will probably ask anyway.
All right. So if they have any player data, include them. And if the player data is so horrible, do what you can to improve them, right? But I think,
Correct.
think,
But
Mhm.
yeah, I wanted to say, but for us, for example, we are not one of those publishers who expect to have data before we make the decision. If the game is released, we of course look at the numbers and compare with the benchmarks on the market. But if not, then we look on core gameplay. We look on how intuitive it is. Is there some kind of innovation? We look
Nice.
at the situation in the market. Who are the competitors? Do we think we can compete with them for players? And of course, as I already mentioned, does this game have a potential for scalable growth and for long-term retention?
Before we move on to what the publisher expects, in the preparation, is there anything else that you're like, oh my God, why are they doing this? Like, why don't they understand this?
I think that if there was only one thing developers could show me, if there is like only one, for example, I would want to see a video of gameplay, and this is the most important
How
thing.
much of the pitches you get actually include a video? Is it less than half or more?
Less than half.
So there you go. So you can
It is
become.
actually frustrating. It is frustrating because when I was at Achievers Hub and GD Bay, I had so many talks about this, and I always advised to include the video. And I saw some other publishers on the panels, on the podcasts, always advising to send the video. And it is so frustrating how little developers actually do.
Can you include it in the requirements?
We can. We actually, what I did just recently, we didn't even publish it yet. I did the game submission form for Burny
Nice.
Games. We didn't have it before because we just started, and it was mainly just random, chaotic
Yeah, you're
communications.
using your network and you soft launch.
Yeah, and now we are making an organized process of this.
Nice.
So just yesterday, actually, I finished this
Awesome.
first draft of game submission form. So it's easy to just put this asterisk as a required field,
Yeah.
gameplay
And
video. Though
you
it's
go.
they can put an URL. It's just URL. They can. I expect to see some submissions where instead of video there will be just some other URL
The
because
build.
they don't have a video. The build, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me give some advice to people listening because I have a podcast and I edit short videos. I promise everyone listening to this who need a gameplay video, record your gameplay. Go to Fiverr, Upwork, whatever you want. Tell them, I want a gameplay video to show a publisher. The first 15 seconds need to show the gameplay and anything else you can include. This will cost you $30. If you can't do this in-house, outsource it. It's not an option. Did I do good? Is that what they need to hear?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Perfect.
sweet.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh, there you go. Hopefully now, forevermore, Burny Games receives videos nicely edited. And maybe guess what? Put some captions on it. I don't know. It probably won't hurt. Now
Yeah.
this is this
Yeah.
section. Like you're pitching for potentially tens, hundreds of thousands, or maybe even millions in lifetime funding here, guys. So you get one first impression. Love it. All right. Let's move on to, I guess, the second part. We talked a little bit about it. So, like, what does the publisher expect? So, if you feel like we've covered most of it, no stress. But, like, is there anything else the publisher is expecting to see? Maybe we can go deeper in any point that you think needs more time. So, what does the publisher expect?
Yeah, I think that I mentioned most of the things already. I would maybe, if there is one thing that I would go deeper into that I didn't really mention, that is experience on the market and an understanding of the market. And it can be different, of course, for different publishers, but this is one of the things that changed over time. And I remember 10 years ago, there were publishers that their lozungs were come to us and you don't have to think about marketing at all. And their selling point was that developers don't need to know anything about marketing. We will do everything for you. And unfortunately, you cannot afford not knowing anything about marketing anymore. So, as a developer, it's not enough to just make a good game or even a great game that you like and your team likes. You need to know what is happening on the market. Play the games that are released, understand if there is a red ocean or a blue ocean in some particular niche, understand where your game could be in the ecosystem of the other games on the market, understand who are your players, who is your target audience, at least basics. So unfortunately, even though you don't really need to be an expert in marketing, you have publishers for this, but you need to have some understanding of the market.
I'm going to make an analogy for people because I was writing a post the other day for a client, and the topic of how much of the time spent on games last year was on new games versus old games. So in the games industry, people have said that 80+% of the time is spent on old games. This is a huge problem. And I was wondering, what is the stat on music? So amount of music streamed on Spotify that is new time based. Doing a very live Google here. But I remember finding an article where it basically said, perfect, new music consumption in the United States in 2023 is roughly 27%. So it's probably maybe, let's say 20%. I want to use this analogy because I think it was so good when we heard it. Was in music, it's so easy to discover a new song. I'm already paying for Spotify. It might get automatically recommended and it cost me no attention. I could do it while driving. In mobile games, that doesn't happen, let alone PC games, right? So in mobile games, probably even worse. When I say worse, I mean there is less chances for someone to discover your game because they will not discover your game on a mobile app store when there's billions spent on UA, on all these other games that people are playing, driving for that attention. So with that in mind, I picture the songwriter making a song and it's enjoyable, but they can pump out songs and still have a normal job. Game developers, I've spoken to them, I've met them in Barcelona recently, I won't name names, spent years developing a game that the entire team loves, that they raised development funding for. And they tell me, Harry, we just need $500,000 left to finish the game. I'm like, great. What about the marketing? We'll get a publisher. I'm like, cool. But you are not making the game with publishing in mind. A songwriter can get away with it because it didn't cost them years of their life usually. But I truly want to stress the point. What Elena is saying here may, I'll get dramatic. It might save like 2-3 years wasted, because if you're making a game that you love, but the audience will never love, and you could find that out in 2 months, like Burny did, guess what everyone should be doing? I think it's just out of respect for themselves. And if no one commercially would love their game, because I've had this objection, because, look at Stardew Valley or look at Balatro. It's like, yeah, that's different because it's an indie game. It's premium pricing. In mobile, even though those games can be bought on mobile, they were bought after. So like, I think it's such an important point that if you make a game without marketing in mind, which you speak to loads of devs, I happen to also speak to them, it's prevalent still. They know it deep down, but they don't do it. And it upsets me as a businessman because I'm like, there's payroll on the line, right? Like you have a family you want to feed. And I think it's just, I don't know why I got emotional, but it's like, it's sad because someone's spending so many time on something that I and you might see and be like, oh yeah, there is potentially no market in the current state. And I think it's just super important to stress that.
Yeah, and in addition to this, one thing is that players might not like your game, and another thing, they might not even see your game. Maybe you made a great game, but you decided to self-publish it, and you spent all your money on development. You don't have any money to do UA, and this small amount of people who discovered the game, they might have liked it, but it was not enough for the game to go viral. It was not enough to grow organically. And you might think that, oh my God, I built a bad game. People don't like it. They just didn't know about it.
Yeah, they never had an opportunity to discover it. And again, I don't know if people are going to hate me for doing this. I've done this a few times, but like back to like Justin Bieber. He uploaded it to YouTube. If he made that song and kept it on his phone, no one would have discovered him and then made him a star, right? He was a lucky example, but Ariana Grande, same thing. Like, you need to do something to bring people to a Twitch stream. Otherwise, you will stream to 5 people. It's just fact. There's a lot of people trying to become a Twitch streamer. They just won't ever do it. Even though it's kind of like they're streaming, they're doing the work, but there needs to be a thought process in how are people going to discover the game. And maybe you can give me more insight on this. Like my assumption, like Supercell have Clash Royale. They still spend a ungodly amount of money on marketing. But there is, like you said, go viral, rely on organic. They're definitely getting organic because they got me, not with paid UA, they got me organically. But the only reason they got me organically is because a content creator made it on YouTube and then I watched a clip, right? And to get enough people to do that, like discover your game through a creator, people need to still play the game. There needs to be enough players there. So like there is always going to be a minimum amount of marketing that is required. And maybe you can tell me, like I see this trend a lot for PC games now, where the founder and the developer is making like TikToks and shorts about the development of the game and driving a lot of like wish lists and installs. Like Megabonk is an example. I haven't seen it happen in mobile gaming much, but like, does all marketing in mobiles need to be paid? Like, I guess that's one question I had.
The thing, like, the problem is not that it's not possible to grow organically. the problem is that it's unpredictable. And what mobile game, like mobile publishing, is trying to be these days, it's trying to be as predictable as possible, to calculate the return on investment from everything. And it's much easier to calculate the return on investment in marketing, especially when you have experience, when you already have all of the formulas and you know
Yeah.
how long it takes for different cohorts to pay you back. And in case of organic growth through TikToks, for example, I think that it is a great, in overall, I think it's a great tool. And I think that it's a little bit underestimated, maybe,
Yeah.
but you cannot rely on this alone because it's unpredictable. You can use it in addition
It's like a multiplayer,
to,
right? You still need kindling. You still need something.
yeah. So you can use it in addition. And if you have a huge team and you have maybe, of course, not unlimited, but not very limited resources, you can do this. You can afford to experiment. You can afford to invest in different kinds of marketing and see what happens. But when when you have a small team and you have a very limited budget, you cannot afford to place your bet on something that is that unpredictable.
Beautiful. Miss curiosity I have: do games have to be expensive to make to kind of be published by you guys? Does that make sense? Like, should there be like a minimum amount of team size or cost that this game is made? Could I make a game that gets published by Burny Games? Like,
Potentially yes.
wow.
But
So
it's I don't know what are your game development skills. So
I have
maybe.
Claude.
Yeah. So the thing is, it doesn't have to be expensive, but a developer should provide some kind of value to the table. For example, we are really good in making word games. So when developers pitch us word games, we are very, very selective. In fact, a lot of these pitches that we receive are based on ideas that we already had tested and decided to not pursue.
Interesting.
So, but when it's something a little bit different, for example, a subgenre or a niche that we are not that experienced in, when developer can also bring their expertise in this market, in this niche to the table, this is where it gets interesting, because we for us, it probably will be easier and faster to publish this game than develop similar game internally. So there should be some kind of value. And of course, there is a minimal bar of quality of the game, even though, of course, we can help with a lot of things, even with some art assets sometimes. But developers should be capable of producing the game of the high quality that would fit our portfolio quality wise.
When you look at an organization chart, I'm not saying that you look at it every day, but like when you're thinking of a game development, are there certain people that they need to have on the team? Because I'm guessing they're going to come along the journey with you, right? You're not just like taking the game and running away. They're coming along the journey, I assume.
Oh yeah. Well, they need to be able to cover develop the production completely. They need to have the entire team in place that can continue supporting the game, doing live ops,
Including live ops. Yeah, okay.
including live ops, building more levels and game designing more levels and so on. We can, of course, direct and support them. Some things are questionable. For example, marketing creatives. We can do it ourselves, or if the developer has capacity, they can do it themselves. It would be good for us if they have a quality, like if they can provide the level of quality that is acceptable. Why not? But
Nice.
Production should be definitely entirely on development
100%.
team.
So you won't have a single dev work on their game. Is that how publishing works for you guys?
Probably no. I wouldn't say, never say no.
Yeah.
But probably no. We would have our producers, our game designers, our marketing people, our creative people that would help this project
Nice.
to be released. But
Do you
if
support them? Does that make sense? Like, do you support production from
we
a
do.
tactics or like advice?
We do. Well, it is really early to say because we only have 2 games,
Fair.
2 examples. Because so I don't know. Maybe we will have different examples. But so far, we support them a lot, and we provide a lot of advice, and we also share our expertise with them.
Beautiful. So they're not just like, good luck, here's some money.
No, they just not. No less. I mean, in this case, why would they need us? They can get a loan in a bank and invest this in user acquisition and fly.
Well, then they would go bankrupt if they do go wrong. I'm guessing with you guys, it's you guys take the loss. That's why it's kind of bigger
Or
risk,
that-
but you
yeah.
yeah, but you have
Yeah,
rev
and,
share, cancel it
And
out,
one thing that is developers sometimes don't understand when they're talking about revenue share is that publishers invest so much more in mobile gaming. Publishers
Yeah,
invest
it's
more in
probably
UA.
10x, right? Like it's a lot more.
Yeah, well, it depends, but it could be 10x and maybe even more. Not maybe, but 100%. It depends on the game, and if the game is becomes a hit and it gets into the scale
Like,
stage,
put everything on the game. Let's go.
yeah, it is exactly. Why would you not invest
It's
more
a money
money in
printer.
marketing?
It's like, why would we stop the money printer? And that's the
Exactly.
beautiful thing.
Yeah, and this is also what developers need to understand when we talk about revenue share, that publishers, of course, in most contracts, you would see the recoup clause. So publisher has to recoup their marketing costs before starting sharing the revenue. And this means that for developers that rely on this money for like company survival, they need to think about it in advance and come up with a deal with a publisher when they have their costs covered. For example, it could be burn rate coverage, some monthly payments from the publisher, or minimum guarantee.
Nice.
If the game is successful, unfortunately, in many cases, it means that you will get money later. If the game is not successful, you can get it earlier, but it's not a good. It's not always
Yeah,
a
I'm
good
with you.
sign.
So like
Yeah.
the developer needs to take this into account when they're speaking with publishers to obviously save their backs, but also you as a publisher need to be comfortable doing a deal, knowing that they can take care of themselves until the money gets recouped, right?
Exactly, because we need them to continue working on the game. We need to continue like developing new levels and doing live ops, and we need them to be happy.
Exactly, number one. Love it. So I want to look at the final part, which is where to look for publishers very briefly. And then I'd love to talk about how to select and get into the deeper parts of like the different publishing models, because there's more than just your way, right? There's probably a dozen ways. So where would I have my dream game? I have my production team. I can do repeat. I've got my gameplay video. I've done everything that I should have done after watching this podcast. Where do I look for publishers other than Burny Games?
There are luckily so many places where you can find publishers these days. There are offline events, there are online events. There is LinkedIn, where publishers are usually pretty active. There are some dedicated platforms like Global Game Speech. It still exists, and you can still put your games there. There are also sometimes these publishers lists that are circulating around the internet. For example, Jay Powell's list from Powell Group, and I've seen some other lists as well. But for mobile games, I think that the easiest way is to just open App Store or Google Play and look at and who's publishing the most successful game in your genre, in your niche, and then check if this company also work with third-party titles. In most cases, they have this written on their website. They sometimes have the game submission form or at least some contact information. And even if not, it doesn't hurt to ask. Try to find someone.
They could be like you. You did it in soft launch.
Exactly. Yes. And we were pitched games even before we decided to
There
publish
you
games.
go.
And this could be, you can be someone's first third-party title. So
Very cool.
if you want to find a person who could potentially talk to you about it, just open LinkedIn and search for business development manager or partnerships manager, game scout if they already have publishers, developer relations manager, publishing manager, head of publishing. Like,
Not the CEO?
you, if it's a well, you can if this is a smaller team, but if the team is quite big, I don't think that all of the CEOs have time to look at their
Fair.
requests on LinkedIn, and it just might get lost there, even if you
The
would
titles you
probably.
mentioned are the go-to ones.
Yeah, I would go. I would reach out. I would at least try to find any of these people before reaching out to C-level management.
I have a
In
secret.
small,
Go on.
yeah, in smaller teams, if there might be no middle management. It's just it was my story when I became COO at the age of 21, and that was my first job. It's just because there was no one in between me and the people who like executed tasks. So it was
Beautiful.
just C-level and then the lower level. But in the bigger companies, there is middle level, and it's usually their job to look for games. And one thing that I also would like to add is to remember that publishers are looking for you too. They are looking for games, and sometimes what you need to do is just to help them find you, to be
How,
visible.
Elena? How do I help you find me? I'm a game developer and I want a publisher. How do you help me?
Okay, how do you do that? Go to events, offline events, online. Well, there are not so many online events right now, but
Tell
let's
me
say events in general.
maybe the top offline events for me to go.
Pocket Gamer, different like London, Barcelona, Helsinki. Moby Dictum probably these days is also one of the big ones. I would always include Gamescom because it's just the biggest games
It's like
industry
the
event
Super
in
Bowl.
Europe.
There's a lot of people
Yeah,
there.
it just there will be a lot of irrelevant people, but also a lot of relevant. So in Europe, probably this.
Okay, so I want to share a piece on this because I have opinions. So my job is business development, right? And one of my jobs is help my 10 or so clients reach publishers. So you mentioned a very good step, which is not to just search mobile game publishing. It's to go and look and find a list of publishers and then systematically reach out to them, sometimes regardless if they're third party publishing or not, because you never know. Now, I want to give some tactics here. You can cheat. So, what is cheat? So, you could, because AI is so good right now, go to any of these events. Let's say you manage to get in, and as a mobile dev, it will cost like $100 to get into like Pocket Gamer or equivalent. For some reason, guess what? They list all the publishers that attend these events. So you could Control A, copy paste all the text on the screen, put that into your favorite LLM, and say, write me the websites and LinkedIn company pages for all these company pages. It will do that. And then your next prompt, great. I have this game. Hey AI, if you were a game scout, if you were a business developer and you had to prioritize which publisher to approach based on what you can find about their thesis, if they have one, please make a table and give me a prioritization list. You'd be so surprised how good that does. A year ago, not as good. Right now, super good. And this will work because there's probably 100 very good mobile game publishers. So this isn't heavy exercise on the AI. So this is, funny enough, the same way that I would recommend people get a job in the games industry now. Because most people will hire who they know before they spend extra effort in putting a job online. That's the reason there's a hidden job market, is because people are already in the door, they already know someone. But you can become that person if you reach out proactively. And if you do it using the same principles that Elena said, or if you're looking for a job, just for those people listening, if you just prioritize, don't say, hey, do you have any jobs? Just say, hey, I see you don't have jobs, but I saw this that you were doing. This is how I could fit. Here's some free value. Here's what I noticed. I would love a conversation or point me in the right direction. Send 100 of those. I promise you, I'll send you $100 if you do that and you don't get any results. I will guarantee that will give you a good result. So I don't want people slaving away trying to find forums and stuff. Like, you can honestly just make it mathematical. It's like, all right, we have 100 publishers. I'm going to send 10 a day. After 10 days, that's 100 done.
Yeah, and it's also about proactive approaching, but coming back to being visible, right? Like, one thing you can do is to write on your social media, write on your LinkedIn that you are looking for a publisher. It's easy. It doesn't cost you anything. And even if you think that you don't have any publishers in your network, remember about like how small games industry actually is.
Tiny.
And there is this like 6 degrees of separation, but in mobile games, I think it's like 2 maximum. Everybody.
Literally 2.
Yeah. So I don't think it's more than 2, even if you're new to the industry. So let people know that you are looking for a publisher. And also, if you take our advice and go to the events, don't forget to fill in your profile on meeting system. Very important.
Oh my God.
Write down what you're looking for, click all the right things so you appear on the publisher source. As a publisher, what I do, I go to the event. For example, there is a meeting system, let's say Meet to Match, that I really like, and there are all of these filters, how you can filter down the companies. And I put like my filters are platform, mobile, what the company is looking for, publishing, easy. If you put this in your profile as well, I will see you.
Yeah, and
even before the event.
Put yourself into the shortlist, and just to double check on a lot of this stuff. At least Meet to Match specifically, sometimes they put up a Meet to Match next to a Gamescom or a GDC for less than $100, and you could be on there from an online perspective. I have spoken to people who never went to Gamescom, put themselves on Meet to Match, booked a bunch of meetings, and then said, "Oh no, my flight got cancelled," and then reschedule those meetings for the next week. So you can be very cheeky here. Like, there's ways to get attention. Love it. All right. So for the final part, I want to talk about the publishing models. Is there anything that someone listening to this needs to understand before they start following this podcast advice, basically?
Yeah, about the publishing model is also part of the industry transformation, I would say, over the last
the recent
years.
One, yeah.
Yeah, if you're talking about publishing, again, 10 years ago and more, it was usually very simple and very similar for all of the cases. Developers cover development cost or part of it, publishers cover marketing, sometimes part of development, 50-50, and let's go. And now there are so many more different ways to approach publishing. It's co-development or co-publishing. There are also such models as shadow publishing or publishing as a service. I'm actually very interested in how this kind of develop. It's when the publisher basically provides an infrastructure for developer to publish the game. So publisher provides, for example, the tools, some kind of platform for live ops, analytics, UA, and so on, and some advice on how to use this infrastructure efficiently, and takes some small cut of revenue. Of course, much smaller in this case than in case of traditional publishing. And developers use this infrastructure to bring their games to the market. This is the case when developers have money, but they don't have the expertise and they don't have the tools. And the other option is when developers have the expertise and they have the understanding of the market, but they don't have money. In this case, one of the popular approaches these days is to get UA funding. There are more and more companies that provide UA funding specifically, so you can get money from them to invest in your user acquisition. But one thing to consider here is that you need to prove them the marketability of your game. They will probably not give you money until they see some kind of numbers. So you will need to test the game first. You will need to get some metrics and then go to them. And if your numbers are good, they will give you money to scale the game. So these are, I think that these models are gonna be even more popular probably.
Yeah.
And for publishers, it is I would say that it makes sense to look closely at these models and to be flexible, and to be accommodating to developers,
Yeah.
because there are different cases. There are developers that need funding. There are developers that need expertise. There are developers that need infrastructure. So in best case, I think that it's when you offer some kind of modular structure, you can structure the deal in many different ways and be flexible. In this case, your funnel is growing.
And for people listening, we've had Rizky Shaibatura on the podcast, who is one of the co-founders at PVX, which is one of these UA financing company that you just talked about, Elena. On the podcast, he said exactly what to do, similar to what you did, to kind of win a deal. Also, some of these UA financing companies, at least I can speak for PVX, they have data on what is getting an ROI right now, and they can share that data with you through their buying process, if that makes sense. So you can learn and test your game through these UA financing companies, given that you have enough metrics, if the game is already out or what have you, to learn and improve using the fact that they can have this perspective of multiple games, similar to how you guys can be an expert on word games because you've already done it. You've already been through it for the last few years, right? So now I think it's very important to allow people to understand the amount of models there is right now, which is very different to before. And for me, it seems positive, optimistic. I know it's like these new models are trying to fill in the gap because it is so hard. But at least if I'm a mobile game developer now, you now have more options. Like, I feel like that's a plus.
Yeah.
Elena, before we wrap up, I always ask my guests, for anyone who wants to be like you, so not necessarily have your hairstyle, I'm talking more like your career. So if someone wants to go and reach the heights that you've had, right? A lot of people would envy your career who would be listening to this. Maybe what is something you would tell Elena a few years ago, 10 years ago, to help her become the person you are now, if anyone wants to kind of move into this space and grow in the mobile games industry?
I would say that probably be open-minded and be flexible. We work in the industry where things change very rapidly, so we cannot afford to get stuck in the ways we do things, the ways we've done things before. I think that one of the things that actually helped me in my career is that I started early and I started from a high position, and I was doing many things that I didn't have a formal education for. So
Did they give you instructions to do it, or did you just
no,
get more?
no,
I think that's the
no,
secret.
and many. That's a secret. Well, I mean, this is in my case. It was the downside that became an upside because I wasn't stuck in some theoretical structure. I was doing some things intuitively, and I was asking people. I was reaching out to more senior games in the games industry, more senior people in the games industry, to share some advice, and a lot of things I just learned on practice, so to say, and this helped me be more open-minded to some approaches. Sometimes, of course, it also happened that I reinvented things that already existed, but it was a journey, I have to say. So be open-minded, be flexible, and don't afraid to ask for an advice. Don't afraid to reach out to people you look up to, and most of them, I'm pretty sure they would take time to give you an advice, and
I
it
have the
might
math
not.
actually.
Hmm?
I have the math on this
Oh,
because
really?
yeah.
I'm
So
interested to hear.
Amir Satvat has a list of people who volunteered to be a coach on a spreadsheet, and I gave this advice to someone. I said, if you want to get a job, get a mentor, because the mentor is going to be working at a company and can probably rip your CV to shreds on what is actually needed today. So how do
That's
you get a
true.
mentor? Message these people who have volunteered 100 times in a week, send 100 connection requests, and they did it. and it was around 10% replied. So if you send 9 messages and no one replies, and you give up because you think everyone's not available, please no. It's just you need to send a few more messages. Some people are very busy. Some people aren't on LinkedIn that time. But even on a list where people volunteer to be a coach, think shit happens. So what you said, I would just say and ask over and over again, because there's going to be someone somewhere would love to be a mentor, and there's no one they can put that energy in that would actually listen to their advice. So if you can have a reframe, it is a gift for you to be a mentee to them, because it's very fulfilling to help someone grow in their career. So I think, just to second that point, like, people want to be mentors and there's not enough people messaging them, believe it or not.
That's true. Yeah, this is true. But also, one more piece of advice is, don't just trust blindly to whatever people told you, even if they are more senior, even if they are someone you respect. Remember that no matter how many years of experience they have, it's always a personal opinion, and especially if this is something concerning the game that you're building. So I want to tell this to all developers who received negative feedback from a publisher, to remember that this is also it's their personal opinion. And one thing that I learned when I switched to publisher side from developer side is I underestimated how much really doesn't depend on developer. And don't want to be discouraging. What I mean is that there are just so many things that publishers take into consideration when they select the games. They don't depend on the game. That don't depend that has nothing to do with the game. With the
Are you referring to the publishing thesis? It's a choice that they've made on what they should invest in? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes. So when publishers select the games, and when they decline the games, for example, when they reject the games, in many cases, it has nothing to do with the game itself, with the game's quality, with the developer's capability. There are so many things like market situation, development schedules, portfolio feed, just internal capacity of the publisher. So when publisher tells you it's not you, it's me, believe them. And even if they don't, if you truly believe in the game, just
second opinion.
Keep trying. Yeah, get a second opinion, right? Second, third. Well, there is a limit at some point. There is a limit.
If everyone says the same thing and you're not fixing it, look at yourself.
Yeah, this is true. But why I'm saying that is because I've seen this in my career. When developers pitched the game to one publisher, they were looking up to this person, they were looking up to this company, and they rejected and said some mean things sometimes that were that hurt developer. They just gave up completely.
Oh no!
Though for some other publisher, that would be a perfect game.
Yeah, that's very important, and I think it's worth reminding people that publishers are people. Every company is people, so that could be literally one person's opinion that allows that you let stop that game coming to market or stop your dreams potentially. And you should never give one person that much power. Love it. Elena, this is great. This is a good time. I enjoyed it. Thanks so much. I'm on your LinkedIn.
Likewise.
Thank you. I'm on your LinkedIn profile now.
Yeah.
And it has 1 followers, 1 followers, which is funny. So I'm going to send a bunch more people there. So on your banner, it says DM me to pitch you their game, but maybe you can tell people what's the best way for people to reach you after this conversation.
They can DM me still. I am trying to reply to everyone. I still remember how it felt when I was on the selling side of the business. So I'm trying to be nice. And
she replied to me. I messaged her a year ago. She replied to me.
Yeah, I am. Sometimes I'm overwhelmed, but I am replying, and I hope that we will finish our game submission form soon. So I will probably reply with the link to this form. So
Beautiful.
The best way to pitch the game would be to fill the form.
And follow the advice in today's call.
And send the gameplay video.
There you go. Exactly. No gameplay video she will say, if you came from this podcast, she will call you a liar or deaf. Great. Elena, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a very busy lady, and fantastic. Alrighty. Anything else you want to maybe shout out, or if anyone's listened to this?
I think we've covered pretty much everything.
All right, great. Alrighty. If anyone's having a good time, recommend this to a friend who needs to hear this. Share this, or even, God forbid, subscribe, which is 80% of you need to do. Haha. Alrighty. Elena, thank you so much. We'll let everyone
Thank
go.
you.
Alrighty.
Bye
Goodbye,
bye.
everyone.